LeBron James had walked past the same homeless veteran 47 times. Every morning for 3 months on his way to Lakers training facility, LeBron's $200,000 Lamborghini cruised past the corner of Wilshire and Robertson. And every morning, sitting in the same spot with a cardboard sign, was Army veteran Marcus Thompson. God bless, Iraq war vet. Anything helps. LeBron saw him every single day. But like most people, he looked away, focused on his phone, pretended not to notice. Until the day Marcus wasn't there. When LeBron finally learned why Marcus had disappeared, and what had happened to the man he'd ignored for 3 months, it would lead to the most heartbreaking apology in sports history. Have you ever walked past someone in need so many times that they became invisible to you? 7:47 a.m. The same time every morning. LeBron's sleek Lamborghini Aventador pulled up to the red light at Wilshire and Robertson Boulevard, just 3 blocks from the Lakers training facility. And there he was again. The man with the weathered face and army fatigue jacket, sitting cross-legged on a piece of cardboard, holding the same handwritten sign he'd held for 93 consecutive days. Marcus Thompson. Not that LeBron knew his name. LeBron's routine was always the same. Pull up to the light, check his phone for messages. Maybe glance at the morning news. Carefully avoid eye contact with the man sitting just 15 feet away. When the light turned green, he'd accelerate past without a second thought. You ever think about stopping? His security guard, Tony, had asked once during the second week. Man, there's homeless people everywhere in LA. LeBron had replied, not looking up from his phone. I can't save everybody. That's what my foundation is for. Tony had nodded but said nothing more. But he'd noticed that LeBron always seemed to check his messages a little more intently when they reached that particular intersection. Day 15. Marcus was there. Same spot. Same sign. LeBron was on a conference call about his new Nike deal. Day 28. Marcus was there looking thinner. LeBron was studying game film on his tablet. Day 41. Marcus was there coughing heavily. LeBron was texting his wife about Bronny's basketball schedule. Day 67. Marcus was there, sleeping against the building. LeBron was reviewing investment documents. It had become a carefully choreographed dance of avoidance. LeBron told himself he was helping veterans through proper channels. His foundation had donated $2.3 million to veteran causes last year. He'd visited military hospitals, done PSAs for veteran suicide prevention, even hosted a charity game for wounded warriors. But somehow, none of that made him feel better about the man at the intersection. Marcus Thompson's routine was as consistent as LeBron's. Every morning at 7:30, he'd carefully arrange his cardboard square, check that his sign was readable, and sit down to begin his day. Not begging, not demanding, just existing in a space where thousands of cars passed by every hour. Most drivers looked through him like he was part of the scenery. Some rolled down windows to offer dollar bills or breakfast sandwiches, which Marcus always accepted with genuine gratitude and a God bless you. A few shouted insults or told him to get a job, which Marcus endured with the same quiet dignity he'd shown during 3 tours in Iraq. But the expensive cars that slowed down only to speed past, those hurt the most. Because Marcus recognized some of the faces. Athletes, celebrities, people who spoke publicly about supporting veterans while privately pretending they didn't exist. The man in the Lamborghini was the worst. Marcus knew who LeBron James was. Hard not to, when his face was on billboards throughout the city. Marcus had even watched LeBron's documentary about supporting underprivileged kids. Had seen the interviews where LeBron talked about giving back to communities. But for 3 months, LeBron had looked right through him like he was invisible. Day 78. Marcus waved slightly when the Lamborghini approached. LeBron was deep in conversation with his trainer about his upcoming documentary. Day 85. Marcus held up a small American flag he'd found. LeBron was arguing with someone on the phone about endorsement contract terms. Day 91. Marcus tried making eye contact when the car stopped. LeBron was scrolling through social media, probably posting about social justice or community support. Day 94. Marcus wasn't there. LeBron noticed immediately, though he couldn't quite explain why. The intersection felt different, incomplete somehow. He caught himself glancing toward the empty corner where Marcus usually sat. "Where's the veteran?" Tony asked, voicing what LeBron was thinking but wouldn't say. "I don't know, probably moved to a different spot." But something felt wrong. After 93 days of clockwork consistency, Marcus Thompson had simply vanished. LeBron shook off the feeling and focused on his phone, but throughout practice that day, he kept thinking about the empty corner. Why did it matter? Why did he care where some homeless guy had gone? Day 95. Still no Marcus. Day 96. The corner remained empty. By day 97, LeBron realized he was actually looking for Marcus, scanning nearby intersections as they drove to practice. The absence bothered him more than the presence ever had. That's when Tony mentioned seeing something in the news about a homeless veteran found unconscious near downtown LA. Possible pneumonia. Critical condition at county hospital. LeBron's stomach dropped. What did he look like? And that's when LeBron's 3 months of willful blindness came crashing down around him. County hospital smelled like disinfectant and regret. LeBron had never been inside Los Angeles County Hospital's homeless ward. His charitable donations went to children's hospitals. Clean, modern facilities with smiling families and positive outcomes. This place was different. This place was where the city's forgotten people came to die. "I'm looking for a patient," LeBron told the nurse at the reception desk, pulling his hood lower to avoid recognition. "Army veteran, probably brought in 3 days ago. Pneumonia." The nurse looked tired, overworked. Name? LeBron realized he didn't know Marcus's real name. He was homeless, found unconscious downtown. Military jacket. Room 314, but visiting hours end at 8 p.m. LeBron checked his watch. 7:45 p.m. He'd spent all day trying to build up the courage for this moment. The elevator ride to the 3rd floor felt like an eternity. Room 314 was at the end of a dim hallway. Through the partially open door, LeBron could see a figure lying in the hospital bed, connected to oxygen tubes and IV lines. The man looked smaller, frailer than the person who'd sat at that intersection for 3 months. LeBron knocked gently. "Excuse me?" Marcus Thompson turned his head slowly. When he saw LeBron, his eyes widened with confusion and recognition. "You're..." Marcus's voice was barely a whisper, hoarse from the breathing tube that had been removed earlier that day. "I'm LeBron. LeBron James." He stepped into the room, suddenly feeling like the most famous athlete in the world was completely inadequate preparation for this moment. Marcus struggled to sit up. "I know who you are. You drive the Lamborghini." The words hit LeBron like a physical blow. Of course Marcus knew. For 3 months, LeBron had convinced himself that his tinted windows provided anonymity, that his morning routine of avoidance was invisible. "How are you feeling?" LeBron asked, pulling a chair closer to the bed. "Like I've been hit by a truck." Marcus managed a weak smile. "Pneumonia. Doctor says I've been fighting it for weeks." LeBron felt his throat tighten. While Marcus had been getting sicker, sitting on that corner every morning, LeBron had driven past in climate-controlled luxury, too busy to notice a man slowly dying 15 feet away. "Marcus, right?" LeBron had asked the nurse for the name on his way up. "You know my name?" I asked downstairs. LeBron couldn't meet Marcus's eyes. "Marcus, I need to tell you something." I need to apologize." Marcus looked confused. For what? For driving past you every morning for 3 months. For pretending I didn't see you. For acting like you were invisible. The silence in the room was deafening. Marcus studied LeBron's face, trying to process what he was hearing. "You saw me?" "Every day, same time, same intersection. And every day, I looked away." Marcus was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was even softer. "Why?" It was the simplest question with the most complicated answer. Why does anyone ignore suffering? Why do we cross the street to avoid homeless people? Why do we turn up our music when someone asks for help? "Because it was easier," LeBron said finally. "Because stopping would have complicated my morning routine. Because I told myself I was already helping veterans through my foundation, so I didn't need to help you personally." Marcus nodded slowly. "At least you're honest." "Marcus, can I ask you something? How did you end up—" LeBron gestured around the hospital room. What Marcus told him next would haunt LeBron forever. Iraq. 3 tours. I was a combat medic. Marcus's voice grew stronger as he talked about his military service. "My job was saving people who couldn't save themselves." "What happened when you came back?" "PTSD, nightmares. I started drinking to sleep, lost my job, lost my apartment, lost my family." Marcus's voice cracked slightly. "My daughter was 8 when I became homeless. She's 12 now. Haven't seen her in 4 years because I'm too ashamed." LeBron felt tears forming in his eyes. While he'd been driving past Marcus every morning, rushing to practice basketball, a game, Marcus had been a father missing his daughter's childhood because he'd sacrificed his mental health serving his country. "The VA has a waiting list for housing assistance," Marcus continued. 18 months. So I sit at that corner every day, trying to save enough money for a security deposit on an apartment, trying to get stable enough to see my little girl again." "How much do you need for the deposit?" Marcus looked surprised by the question. "Mr. James, I'm not asking you for money." "I know you're not. That's what makes this worse. For 3 months, you never once approached my car. Never once asked me for anything. You just existed in the same space, quietly hoping for help that never came." LeBron pulled out his phone. "What's your daughter's name?" "Emma. Emma Thompson." "And how much for the apartment deposit?" Marcus hesitated. "First month, last month, security deposit. Probably $3,000, but Mr. James..." "Done." LeBron was already typing. "What else do you need?" "I can't accept." "Marcus, you spent 3 years in Iraq saving people. Let me spend 3 minutes saving you." But LeBron wasn't finished. "I'm also calling the VA tomorrow. I know people there. We're going to get you moved to the front of that housing list." Marcus was staring at LeBron like he couldn't believe what was happening. "And Marcus? I want to help you see Emma again. When you're ready." That's when Marcus Thompson, Army combat medic, Purple Heart recipient, father of a 12-year-old girl he hadn't seen in 4 years, began to cry. "Why?" he whispered. "Why now? Why are you doing this?" LeBron looked at the man he'd ignored for 3 months, now lying in a hospital bed because pride and routine had been more important than human compassion. "Because I should have done it 94 days ago." 2 weeks later, Marcus Thompson signed the lease on his first apartment in 4 years. LeBron hadn't just handed him money and walked away. He'd called the VA personally, leveraged his celebrity status to expedite Marcus's housing application, and even hired a social worker to help with the transition. But the biggest surprise came on a Thursday afternoon when LeBron showed up at Marcus's new apartment with an unexpected visitor. "Daddy?" Emma Thompson, now 12 years old with her father's gentle eyes, stood in the doorway holding LeBron's hand. She'd grown 4 inches since Marcus had last seen her, but her smile was exactly the same. "Baby girl," Marcus whispered, dropping to his knees as Emma ran into his arms. LeBron had spent days coordinating with Emma's mother, arranging counseling sessions, ensuring the reunion happened safely. He'd even brought child psychologists to help Emma understand her father's struggles with PTSD. "Mr. LeBron told me you were sick," Emma said, hugging Marcus tightly. "But you're better now, right?" "I'm getting better every day, sweetheart." LeBron watched from the doorway, tears streaming down his face. This was what he'd almost missed by looking away for 3 months. Not just Marcus's suffering, but his humanity, his love for his daughter, his desperate fight to rebuild his life. But LeBron's biggest surprise was yet to come. "Marcus, I have a job offer for you." Marcus looked up from holding his daughter. "What kind of job?" "My foundation is expanding our veteran support program. We need someone who understands what veterans really go through, someone who's lived it." "Mr. James, I don't have any office experience. You have something better. You have truth." 1 year later, Marcus Thompson stood at the same intersection where LeBron had ignored him. But this time, he wasn't holding a cardboard sign. He was holding a microphone, speaking to a crowd of donors at the LeBron James Foundation's annual Veteran Support event. 12 months ago, I was homeless at this exact corner," Marcus said, his voice steady and strong. "For 3 months, hundreds of people drove past me every day, including the man who would eventually save my life." LeBron sat in the front row, watching the transformation with amazement. Marcus had become the Foundation's most effective advocate, helping 47 homeless veterans find housing and reconnect with their families. "LeBron didn't just give me money," Marcus continued. "He gave me something more valuable. He saw me. After 3 months of being invisible, someone finally saw me as a human being worth saving." Emma sat next to her father at the podium, beaming with pride. She now lived with Marcus full-time and had become a straight A student. More importantly, she had her father back. But the most powerful moment came when Marcus finished his speech. "To everyone here tonight, don't wait 3 months to help someone. Don't drive past the same person 94 times before you act, because the person you're ignoring might be the one who changes your life." LeBron stood up and applauded, joined by 500 donors who gave Marcus a standing ovation. After the event, Marcus approached LeBron privately. "You know what the irony is?" Marcus said. "You spent 3 months thinking you were too important to help me, but helping me is the most important thing you've ever done." LeBron smiled. "Marcus, you saved my soul. I just returned the favor. Because sometimes the people we help end up helping us more than we could ever help them. And sometimes the intersection where you ignore someone becomes the intersection where you find your humanity."